And that's why... Oh, right, okay, good. Yeah.
You've got to do the celebration. You've got to get the celebration in. Chelsea have beaten Arsenal 2-0 at the Emirates with a statement result and a statement performance and a man of the match performance from the one and only Romelu Lukaku on his second debut from the club.
A prestigious week for the channel.
Mr. Lawrence McKenna, very prestigious.
All the biggest controversial names on YouTube on your channel in one week.
Today?
Yeah, today. All of them. All of the names.
Here they are.
Yeah.
Mate, how good were Chelsea today? Like I looked at that and I just thought we were borderline flawless. I think it was a statement performance from us. I think the rest of the league will be looking at what we did at the Emirates, not really having to get out of second gear. Right. Look at the performance of Lukaku. Look at the way we controlled the game. We're wicked, aren't we? We're going to take some beating.
That's true. That's true. However, I think the Premier League has become more and more about the team confidence and the runs you can put together because you need such a high total of points come the end of the season. Last season, I can make a very confident prediction that the winner of the Premier League will win it with 80 something, right? Before that, it was two teams that finished in the 90s season after season. And I don't know if that's possible again. So it's a game of attrition, and it's how open to attrition those players are. So the great thing is, obviously, 6 points for you.
6
points.
points.
I think you're top of the league by goal difference.
No goals conceded, 5
Right.
5 scored.
You're top of the league by goal difference.
Yep.
Right. So the yardstick, the index, whatever you want to call it, I think comes next week when it's Chelsea versus Liverpool, because you've got the two sides there that are the two sides I feel are the most capable, based on previous form and based on what their managers have done so far. No disrespect to Manchester United, because I think they're still coming together based on the Southampton result. They're able to push City the furthest, or at least put a little bit of heat on them.
Yeah, agreed.
Right? What do you think about? How do you feel about Chelsea going into playing basically Lukaku against Virgil van Dijk, Matip and Alisson?
It is going to be a serious contest. We're going to be covering it on the kickoff. Make sure you're there. But I do think that it's going to be... You're right. It's going to be the moment that we can actually read something into both teams. Liverpool and Chelsea have both started the season very well, both flawless, in fact. But next week is when we will know quite how far our team.
How many gears have you got this early on?
But today, this is very interesting about the Chelsea game today. As good as we were, as dominant as we are, against a team that have been a problem for us over recent years, it's been a problem for us. We blew them away. It was as if it was like going back a decade or so.
That.
It was like going back to when we had Drogba up front, or going back to when we had Diego Costa up front.
That was so
when we
easy.
were just blitzing them.
Right, and when it felt like basically get the ball at any point to that striker, and something will happen off that.
And they were terrified.
Right.
They were terrified.
Either standing off or allowing him to almost back into them and push them closer. It was
Do you know what it was
strange.
like? It was like Didier Drogba against Philippe Senderos. That's what it felt like today. When it was Senderos versus Drogba, there was only one winner. Didn't matter whether the game was at Highbury, Stamford Bridge or Wembley.
And there's no
was
shame
only
in
one
losing
winner. Or
Senderos.
Cardiff.
Yeah.
But today felt similar to that.
Right.
Pablo Mari was petrified of Romelu Lukaku. He didn't know what to do. He didn't have an answer to anything that Lukaku did. And I think that it is a statement from him today to announce himself back into the Premier League.
And that's what I was going to say. To add to your comment, I think it goes the other way for Lukaku as well. He had no fear of that back line. He looked like he was ready for the competition. He looked like he had a point to prove. And I genuinely thought that whenever he took up space, the great thing I loved about him was it wasn't a striker that basically goes, look up, shot a goal wherever I am because I need this goal. It was a case of all this space around me. I've got an option there. I've got an option there. It seems like since he's been away, his spatial awareness has been...
It's the Antonio Conte effect, isn't it?
I feel like it's been enhanced. I don't want to say he's discovered it because I felt like he already had it, but it's one that he's managed to cultivate a little bit more, and he's come back looking like the player that we knew he had the potential to be.
Yes, it was a dazzling performance from Chelsea today, but I could obviously talk about Chelsea all day long, but we should obviously look at this from an Arsenal perspective.
Do we have to?
Yeah, I mean, they started the season terribly with the result against Brentford. Today, their first game at home, the first time it's been full at the Emirates, or nearly full, for the best part of 18 months. Did you expect more from them today?
If I'm honest, no. Because I
know what you mean.
It's not disrespectful to Arsenal fans. I'm not saying that I couldn't hear today, Arsenal, that the stadium wasn't full. It's that I feel they're encouraging... It's like encouraging a fighter while he's down. At that point. There is just a life cycle this team is going through, which it almost feels like they have to go through this painful period, and the fans have to stick with them through this painful period, because I'm not sure why you would stick with them.
Did you see anything in that performance from them today?
Yes,
is there a silver lining to Arsenal?
Because the attacking patterns, I think, are going to pay dividends in the end. It feels a little bit like there have been seasons where teams hit the post a lot and they go, we'll get there because there's that. So there is attacking patterns building in something, but very little end product. My worry is it doesn't seem like the whole team has a structure that can sustain it defending and attacking. It feels a little imbalanced at the moment, and weirdly it feels imbalanced but conservative still in an Arteta sense.
It's weird, isn't it? Because the only time that I can really think of, like when you think of the highlights of the game, obviously it's Reece James' goal, Romelu Lukaku's goal, the way that the save from Leno, but it's all Chelsea. When I think about Arsenal moments, the only thing I can think of really is the penalty that wasn't given.
Right, that was so 50-50 it wasn't clear and defined. So we couldn't have gone, oh, that's a penalty. You sort of had a load of jumbled up
But
replays,
Loz, that's
right?
not enough. For a home team in their first home game of the season, in the stadium when it's been full for the first time in the best part of 2 years, your best chance is a 50-50 penalty. I thought it was going to be given. I was surprised it wasn't. Adam McCullough was sitting there. He said it wasn't. You weren't convinced.
No, not convinced to the point where I feel like I'd die on this hill. Because I know what your comments are like.
But that's not enough, is it? That's not enough for Arsenal. And who needs to shoulder the burden here? Mikel Arteta?
That doesn't feel like the right answer, but I'm not sure I can explain why right now. Marvin sort of explained it quite well during the show. He was talking about, obviously we're talking about the ownership, and I think the ownership ultimately are answerable for a lot of the structure of the club. And maybe they are transitioning a lot of the structure, so there is going to be a painful growth period where they have to find out how a director of football works below an MD, below all these things. But if you can't, if you fall so far behind the pack in that time, that you can't keep up and things become so untenable for each of the people who come into those positions, it's almost not worth the growing pains.
Well, mate, next week they play City. But
here's the thing with next week. I don't know anyone who feels hopeful about that. I know a lot of people who go, get that City game out of the way, and then we'll go. So it's almost like it's written off in some people's minds already. And I don't know if a side that is competing for the top four, which again Marvin said on the show, let's write that off, or even the top six, should at this point, third game in the season, be going, let's get it out of the way and then we'll see where we go with Norwich.
You can't do. You could potentially do that. You could potentially do that if you took the 3 against Brentford, but you can't go the first 0 for 3, no goals scored, only conceding.
You can if, by the way, your team play. There's grit or there's a feeling of desire in there. And there's moments where I see that, but the point is it's not seeing moments of brilliance, it's about seeing a permanence to a lot of the factors that I see, and I don't see enough of those. A lot of them seem sort of these transient moments where they sort of go, that was good, wasn't it, what he did there? Yeah. And that's what sort of disappoints me. Whereas at least you've got the consistency in other aspects of other Premier League teams. Seems to be very little consistency
for sure.
in Arsenal.
So the day basically belonged to Chelsea though. Romelu Lukaku, man of the match. Reece James, goal of the match. Jorginho control.
Subscribe to McCullough and Rory podcast.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Definitely
I must have
subscribe
missed
to
that
our podcast.
Oh, do you want to do that as a 3? No, we're good, thanks.
Definitely subscribe to our podcast. Loz, thank you so much for joining us.
Completely just skates over it. Absolutely fine.
I'm sorry, I didn't even hear that.
We thought it cost too much. You two are getting paid for that, honestly, because I've seen that.
Rory pays me.
Right, you shouldn't be paid for
Mate,
that.
we will definitely grow that out.
Right. We will definitely explore that avenue. But in this meantime, I have to stop the video.
For next week, Chelsea
Preview
versus
for
Liverpool.
Chelsea-Liverpool.
Of everything that you've seen here today, are you scared?
Yes. Yeah. I left Anfield and I said Virgil van Dijk versus Lukaku is huge next week.
And now we've just seen that. It's grown even more since then.
It's so exciting. Think about that. That's Anfield. It is at Anfield. Yeah, it is at Anfield, right? Where this is the first big game, in inverted commas, with fans back.
Amazing.
Massive preview Thursday night,
Let's
including you and I.
Let's do it. Can't
Massive.
wait. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a like, click subscribe. See you all on the next one.